Welcome back to the Moto Marketing Podcast. I'm your host, Luke Nesler. Thanks for joining us today for another episode of Marketing Talk, business talk in the sport of moto. Everybody seems to be enjoying it. Appreciate everybody reaching out, asking questions for our guests on Instagram. If you want to know the lineup of who we have coming in studio or calling in studio before it happens so that you can get your questions in, follow me on Instagram at Luke Nesler, Lukenesler. If you have marketing questions that you'd like answered on the show, simply shoot me an email at questions@motomarketingpodcast.com. We've got a lot of really good guests lined up. Some have already been recorded and are going to be coming in the coming weeks. Some are lined up to be recorded. We've got Daniel Blair. We've got Panic Rev. We've got Donnie Emler Jr., Little D from FMF. We've got Doug Punk Rock Parsons, Freestyle Moto X, one of the pioneers. We've got Andy Gregg from Guts Racing. A lot of people have requested those guests. They are all lined up or all have already been recorded. So just a little teaser of what's to come on the podcast. Hey, today we got Mike Beier from Asterisk. Excited to have him on. It's an interesting brand that has gone through some transition over the years and is still a leader in the space. And Mike talks about the journey that brand has gone through, the role and roles that he's played at Asterisk, and really, how did we get to where we are today? They've got new products coming out. They've still got the products of old that we all know and love. But how did they get the attention of the marketplace and really educate us on the technology in a way that our eyes don't glaze over? Right? It's a problem that safety product based companies like helmets or braces, they battle with that, because to really promote the technology, you have to speak at a level that we, the non-scientist, weekend warrior athlete, can understand. Right? So how does he do that? We talk about it today on the Moto Marketing Podcast. Appreciate y'all joining us. Thanks to Racer X for having us. Man, I hope you're enjoying this season. How about the Oakland round? Some say it's the best round of the year. It's pretty exciting. Hey, let's dive into the show and talk to Mike Beier from Asterisk.
Welcome to the Moto Marketing Podcast, presented by Racer X, the podcast for moto industry professionals, entrepreneurs, and riders. If you want to grow your brand and business in today's digital-first world, you have to know how to turn a stranger into a fan, turn a like into a customer. You have to know how to turn attention into dollars. This podcast is dedicated to keeping you in the know on real marketing tactics that work in the moto world so that you grow your business and help grow the sport. Get ready to learn from the very same marketing experts trusted by Racer X, Lucas Oil Pro Motocross, GNCC, and NBC Sports. They'll help you navigate the world of digital marketing for your moto brand. This is the Moto Marketing Podcast. Presented by Racer X.
All right, as promised, we got an awesome guest on the Moto Marketing Podcast today. We got Mike Beier from Asterisk with us, and I'm super excited to have him on to talk about the brand, the changes over the year, how he and his team are continuing to get attention on the brand, educate the athletes on the technology behind the product, and continue to grow as a company. Mike, welcome to the show, man. I'm really excited to have you on, and I appreciate you joining us today.
Hey, I'm really glad to be here, and I really appreciate you asking me to be on the show. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, man, absolutely. Well, so you and I, on a recent phone conversation, just kind of talking about, what we were going to cover in the show and everything. You had taken me back a little ways, kind of the old school days of Asterisk. Kind of talk to me about when you kind of came into the picture, where it started, so that when we talk about what we're doing today, I know things have changed a little bit. Kind of where did Asterisk get their start really in the sport to get us to where we are today?
For sure. No, I have a lot of information on that. I was a racer in the 80s. I hurt my knees. Jim Castillo had just started creating a company by the name of Innovation Sports, which was the maker of the CTI knee brace. And in my injury, I was sitting at one of the races. He asked why I wasn't racing, and that he came up with a new brace. And I told him I hurt my knee, and that actually started a really good friendship with Jim. And I would go mountain biking and riding with him, and I was wearing a CTI for all those years. He had asked me in the late 80s if I wanted to be part of his R&D team and continue developing braces. And so that's kind of how everything started for me with Innovation Sports and Castillo.
So you had knee problems yourself, so you saw the obvious
I had knee problems
need.
myself, yes.
Now, you said you were wearing a CTI brace back in the day?
Absolutely. I was wearing a knee brace, a CTI brace that he had just come out with. And so during my development there, we had come out with the CTI2. We came out with several products. Like I said, we were pretty deep into the R&D. We worked with the U.S. ski team. We worked with several athletes, almost all the racers through the 90s. We got involved in manufacturing some other things like snowboards and things like that. What we were trying to do was come up with something more retail. It was always difficult for customers to get a CTI brace because they had to go to their doctor and get a prescription. If they didn't get a prescription, we really couldn't get them a brace.
That's how it was back in the day for me as well. When I blew my ACL out, I think my PT actually played a major role in me getting a brace. So has that's changed today?
Well, for the most part, a lot of it is the same. You still have to get a prescription to get some of the custom bracing that was being used back in those days. So what Jim wanted to do was, we need to put a price, bring the price down, that, put them in motorcycle shops, and we need to mass produce these things so that they're a lot more accessible. Now, because they weren't custom anymore, he wanted to make adjustments on the bracers to actually have them customizable by each individual person and available at a less expensive price to buy a set. So that's actually where Asterisk took off. And in the late 99, 2000, the company was formed, and it was actually a company inside Innovation Sports.
Very cool.
So with that, then it ran like that for a few years, and the company continued pushing the program. There was interest in doing like a hospital at the racetrack, and Tom Carson, who was in charge of the rider support at that time, took that upon himself, and Jim went ahead and got a semi, and that sort of was history of the Asterisk Medic unit.
So that was actually one of the questions I was curious myself about this, because I think in the early days of me getting involved in the sport as a fan, which I came into the picture and really fell in love with the sport in 2002, and then just kind of the infection grew from there, I guess, if you will. And one of the ways that I really became aware of your brand was from the mobile medical unit. Talk to me about that. Was that strictly an advertising play, or was that obviously something that you guys wanted to do to help improve the overall care for the riders, or what was really the thought behind that? Because I think that really changed the care of the tracks.
Well, it was actually both. We obviously wanted to find an outlet to continue to improve on brand awareness, but at the same time, we wanted to be there and help the riders and come up with a program. And during the 90s, we were approached by several people at Innovation Sports that wanted to kind of do something like that, whether it was chiropractic or try to do some kind of a service at the track to help and have it kind of tie in with the whole thing. The issue with the medic rig, which is kind of ironic, is the Asterisk medic unit was trying to help advertise for Asterisk. But at the same time, the Asterisk product was not a medical device. We weren't, the whole goal to get it into all the motorcycle shops was not to have it available through medical. So it was kind of a little bit of both sides of the fence there.
I see.
We were helping with the medical, but yet our brace wasn't medically certified.
I see. Now, what year are we at right now? Well, what time frame is this in?
We're starting anywhere from the mid 2002, 3, all the way through to let's say 2010, I guess.
Got it.
Obviously, that's kind of the range in which that was going. Now, at that point in time, I was not working with the guys anymore. I was no longer with the company as of 2000 basically. It was going through some changes, and I was part of the CTI innovation group. Even though Asterisk was started, it was I wasn't a day-to-day guy with the company at all, but always connected to it. The guys, Jim and Dave Castillo and the guys that were running it, Tom Carson, they were always close. They were friends. They were pushing the brand. Got
it. So talk to me about that transition when you had said you left.
So
go ahead.
So in the mid, let's say 2014, 15, 16, there was some problems with the product line, and really put a damper on the program with the brace. And at the time, it looked like it was having a lot of trouble getting a lot of guys to wear it. The designers kind of came up with a little bit more bulky design. It had some issues. We were trying to make some things offshore, and it was struggling. And with that struggle, it continued to struggle. And Jim had had reached out a little, and we formed. He said, "My company's having a little bit of trouble, and we may consider selling it." And before that actually happened, I said, "Hold on, Jim. Let's get together." And at the time, I had put together the composite factory for Yoshimura, and I was at Yosh, and my carbon vendor was John Adamo from Axiom.
Okay.
And John was supplying Yoshimura with material. And John, ironically, was one of the guys that worked with me at Innovation Sports in the 80s and early 90s. And he would lay up a lot of the CPI braces and was involved in customer service, rider support. And his company was doing pretty well. And we said, "Hey, Jim, let's form a new partnership. Let's go in and let's try to fix the problem. And let's turn this thing around."
And now, what year was this again?
Now, this was more towards 2016 now.
Okay, so we're talking more recent times.
More recent, yeah.
Got it. So when you came back into the picture, obviously turning the company around, improving some of the quality issues that you had mentioned before was a must. How did you guys did the brand take a little bit of a beating and get a little bit tarnished from some of the issues that were there that you guys had to reverse? What was your strategy when you came in to really get the word out of the quality and durability of this product now that you were kind of back in the picture?
So what we did was myself and John and Jim, we looked at everything real close, and we said, we've got to slim this thing down. We got to put the brand back on the market. It had slid off the market for a small bit of time, maybe 6 months. And we said we need to look at the quality first. Then from the quality end, we need to redesign what we have here and almost go back to our roots. And we used to do things with the USC team. We did a lot of testing. We did developing. And we kind of had always come up with good ways to have a great fitting product for every big flight. So with that, we wanted to apply that theory and go back at it and have fun with it and reintroduce it to the market. And that's kind of what we've slowly been doing. We've moved the company to Corona. We got a bigger facility than the old facility so that we could take on new projects. And then with the new technology of carbon fiber, we wanted to get some of the newer equipment in here, ovens and autoclaves and pre-preg carbon,
I see,
and start making things. So we started by basically making the old brace again, trying to improve on the quality of the existing product. And we let that run for a couple of years. And at the same time, we started building up the composite part of the program. And in some cases, we were helping HRC. We helped Kawasaki with some programs. We do some things for Pro Circuit. We, build speed plates. But that's not actually our market. What we're doing is basically testing our composite side of the factory so that we can build better knee braces. And so with that, what we did was we looked at the kids first, and we came up with a microcell made out of this new technology, 100% carbon, really lightweight. And we started working with the kids, and then from there we went more to like a teenager and then more of a small adult. And we continued developing and testing with some of the riders that we had, focusing on the amateur program. And then now we have a new brace that we call a CC1. It's a carbon cell, and it's 1 pound. It's super light. It has extremely good lateral support, hyperextension, and we're just in the middle of releasing this product to the market. We're still pending some CE mark approval, and we're also going to have medical approval on this product as well.
Awesome. So obviously there's a lot of technology that goes behind your product, much like, the helmet manufacturers of today. Yeah. I mean, so how do you guys, since you came back in the picture, improve the process and the products? What are some of the things that you guys have done to really get that message out to make sure that obviously riders are aware that knee braces are a thing and that it's probably a good thing, but the difference between you and the other brands on the market, how have you communicated that to your ideal audience through event activation, advertising, whatever it may be? What's that look like for you?
Well, one thing we did was we got on this cool podcast, to get the word out. That seems to be the best way to do it. But actually, we're in the process of getting photos of the brace, and we'll start with social media, and then we'll hook up with some of the magazines, and we'll get it out that way. We've been doing it more by word of mouth, rider support, and Instagram, actually, to let people know that it's out there.
Have you guys done much in the way of event activation? Like, are you attending races and amateur events or anything like that?
All.
Wow.
No, not at all. Now, when we came up with the design, some of the funny things, kind of backtracking a little bit, was we have a lot of the charts of all the tracings of all the racers from all the way back from 1990 all the way through to when we were tracing legs and getting numbers. And some of the things that I did was I went back and I looked at McGrath's chart, and I looked at Ricky Carmichael's chart, and I looked at George Holland's chart, and it's really cool to be able to pull all these legs together and get the angles and dimensions of all these athletes. And it was great to have that data and come up with the sizes to introduce this new brace. And it seems to fit everybody like a glove. It's a super thin brace that can be worn almost under your jeans. That's how thin it is. But it's extremely strong and with great protection. So, but with all that technology, John, my partner, is basically involved in a lot of aerospace. He has materials that are right off the hook, and we can sandwich things in there. And we have the data from the old days of testing with the USC team from Innovation Sports. I have a lot of those records and information, and these are the things that basically from test machines, cadavers, things that we did back then. And so we came up with a hinge motion that we liked, and then we applied the new carbon technology to the brace. And then from the knowledge of having the CTI in our pocket for all these years, we came up with this new brace. And like I said, I think introducing all the technology of the modern and with the history of the past equity that the three of us have in the program, that's basically where the new brace stems from.
Yeah, I think some things as you guys move into the time, which is obviously now, to where it's, hey, we need to start promoting and educating the marketplace on this technology. I think some cool ideas that I can put in your mind that I think will be helpful for anybody listening today is, with a product like you guys have, where there's so much technology that goes behind how you're keeping these riders safe and how the injury prevention is, how it's being prevented, showing that so that people see the clear difference, but doing it in a way that stands out and doesn't confuse people with, what it's made out of and all the techno babble that goes into it. You have to walk that fine line to where you're telling people enough to where they're like, wow, there's a lot that went into this, without them being like, man, I don't know what he says. And I play that game every day, because if I really spoke to you and anybody else with the terminology that my team talks to me, you're going to get lost. So it's a matter of using cool things like you'd mentioned, looking back at your charts and seeing the different sizes and just the reports you had on some of the greatest riders ever that used your products in the past, like Ricky Carmichael. That type of stuff, as long as you're legally allowed to use it, and obviously you have to check into that's going to make a killer print ad for a full page ad in Racer X, something that to where people are like, oh wow, that's Ricky Carmichael's chart from back in the day, and here's how they used it to help develop the product of today, and then taking it to a digital world to where you can do a little bit more with video and visuals and graphics, showing the product in use, whether it's on some type of a test dummy or a model in studio, just really focusing in on the hinging and how it prohibits the side-to-side movement, which keeps you safe, and the hyperextension prevention, everything like that, showing it in short, what we call micro content, so 5, 10, 15-second clips that you can really educate your athletes and really the parents of the youth athletes on how this product works. I think that's the next step for you guys, to really show that behind it and then getting it out to the right audience. Would you agree, or do you have anything else in mind?
I agree 100%. I think videos and short clips like that to educate people is a great thing. One of the things we also do is we put a patent on a tether. And there's guys out there that are using the tether. It's an anti-rotation tether. Most injuries in motocross are ACL injuries, which is blowing out your ACL ligament, and rotation. And rotation a lot of times blows out your ACL ligament as well. So that can happen usually by hyperextension or rotation. And we feel that the brace is an ACL brace that has the patented tether for rotation, and with those two elements, we feel that we got some of the best protection out there, utilizing something that's extremely light and almost where you don't even notice it on your back. So we're excited about where we're going with this. At the same time, like I said, we're continually improving our shop, and the area that we're a little weak in right now is promotion and things like that, but those are, like you said, the little video clips and educating the customer is kind of where we need to head. And we have the product now. We also make everything here in Corona, California, and our autoclave is here, our oven. So we sell our straps, every bit of the padding, all that is made right there. So it's easy for us to adjust things, and we didn't want to go overseas with anything. We wanted to make sure that we employ people here, and we built a good team. And this last summer also, we branched into football, and we worked with San Juan Capistrano, and we worked with Villa Park on their linemen. and we got just really great rapport. Before we put the bigger sizes in motocross, we actually let those guys keep the brace up for 6 months, and they were real pleased and want us to return for next year. So
that says a lot. That says a lot because I played football, and I'm just a fan of the sport, and it's one of those things that if motocross fans listen and don't realize it, I mean a Division I or collegiate lineman, I mean they're not allowed to step on the field without a knee brace. So if you're getting good feedback from that market, and they beat them up, man. I mean, so if they're pleased with it, it does say a lot for what you've come back in and have done with the company in recent times. So that's awesome.
Well, and like I said, that whole program with football really opened our eyes, and it actually is a great testament of how strong these guys are monsters. I don't remember being in high school and having big monsters like that. It's unreal.
Yeah.
I got really good testimony from the coaches, the linemen coaches, and they really just were really excited about the product, and that this was one of their first years of not having any injuries for their guys.
Wow.
And they definitely want to see us back. So we're going to open up and continue into the football. And at the same time, we're getting a lot of calls from skiers that want to wear the brace under their pants. And we're getting Kelly skiers and extreme people calling us to get this thing on there. So it's kind of opening up a couple new markets for us. We wanted to be more present in, and, this is allowing us to head that direction and have the confidence of the brace. We've also extended the warranty on our braces, too, because we feel that we have enough confidence in the frame. So we extended the warranty out to 3 years on this, just because right off the bat we feel confident in what we're building here in our factory. So
yeah, that's great. It says a lot for it.
Excited about the direction we're going.
I think something else that you can that you could take and run with, and again, anybody listening to this that has a product, that getting it in the hands of somebody with a lot of attention on them so that they can review it, it goes a long way. So, man, I think, Mike, if you're looking at some YouTube channels look, they don't even have to be that skilled of a rider. They could be an amateur rider that, a C or B or even an A-level rider, but somebody that has a lot of attention on them. Somebody that comes to mind, his YouTube channel his name is Dio, but his name's Daniel Olaski, I think is how you pronounce it. He's actually going to be on the show, but he's somebody that, man, he gets thousands and thousands and thousands of people that watch his video, and he's a skilled rider. He's in Colorado, rides at Thunder Valley, does the arena cross circuit, but he's not a pro. He has a day job, but he has a really big following. Somebody like that is an adult that could speak intelligently about a product. You send them a couple of your braces, say, hey man, I'd really love for you to, or reach out to him beforehand and say, look, I'd love for you to try these on, review them, let me know what you think, and just share it with your followers. Somebody like him that does this because they're passionate about it and they just so happen to have a big following, man, they're going to be stoked to just have a brand like you reach out, and it's going to get a tremendous amount of attention from really the audience that you're probably going after, right? He doesn't have pros that are necessarily watching him. He's got the average everyday weekend warrior that is probably an ideal customer for you. That's something that really doesn't cost you guys much money. It costs you product, maybe some time, but if you talk to the right people, that can help you get a lot of exposure on all the technology that you just talked to us about today.
No, that's great. Some of the guys, we're working with Pro Circuit right now on their team, and we're slowly getting the guys changed over to our new brace, and most of them really like it. I know George Smith and Mark Stanks have been beating that thing up for a while. We've been also working with Space Texan. He's going to be starting the East Coast using our braces as well.
Great.
And so we're excited about some of the new relationships that this brace is offering for us, because it is really good. We have a couple other guys, but, some things I can't say,
sure,
unfortunately. But at the same time, I think the word's getting out amongst the riders, so we've been getting a lot of calls on this product. So we're excited about it.
No, that's definitely something to be excited about. I think the one unique thing about you guys that I can't really think of another product or brand that you kind of fight an uphill battle, because man, when these guys are winning the race, if Chase Sexton comes out and just kicks butt this year, the only downside is nobody sees your product. So it's a matter of how do you get around that, because they're under the pants, et cetera. So I think it's a way of, it's the same thing with us. I mean, we're working with these brands. They're having great success, but other brands don't realize that we're the ones doing that. Maybe they think that this brand is doing it internally. So in a way, I understand that issue. I think it's something that's why you have to pay extra or give it some extra love as far as making sure, whether it's a Chase Sexton or an amateur rider like Dio, that they're bringing awareness to what's under those race pants on the knees that are keeping them safe and helping them. They go over the bars, they wad up through a whoop section, but you know what? They don't blow out a knee. Why is that? Well, it's not because their legs are super strong. It's probably because they've got that protective brace on. So finding that way of bringing awareness to that, is that something that you guys have found frustrating, where you're like, man, these guys are winning with our product on, but you can't see it?
No, absolutely. You're bringing up something. It's kind of like suspension. Where let's say Race Tech or Factory Connect.
Yeah, it's a good point.
They do somebody's suspension on their bike and they want to advertise it. Really, the primary thing about that is, they have a sticker there. So stickers are important to us. Back in the 80s and 90s, 2000s, we were able to get a lot of stickers on a lot of top guys, from Chad Reed all the way through the pack. But a lot of the helmets were taken over by the energy drink sponsors, and it's tough to do that nowadays. But at the same time, yeah, you hit the nail on the head there with that. If you're wakeboarding or water skiing and your legs showing, it's a little bit easier to show. But at the same time, we asked a lot of our athletes, and we've been doing a lot with the amateur program. They do real well with us on their Instagrams, and they show the product. And in fact, that's been a big thing for us since we started with the smaller sizes. The guys have been great. All of them we've been helping on the amateur side have been doing a lot of posting, showing the new brace and what it, kind of how it's made and with the carbon look. So it's cool, and I appreciate that kind of input from them. So that's great.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, guys, we have Mike Beier from Asterisk on the call with us today, talking about the brand and the resurgence of it, and really just the technology that goes into it, and how a product that's so important yet so subtle that you don't realize it's there at times. How do they bring attention to it? It's an interesting story, man. I was intrigued from the first time we had talked about kind of your journey from, the creation to walking away to coming back and improving it. And it's pretty cool to see how the brand very easily could have died out, and you come back in and you guys are, you've improved the product, but it's almost sounds like from what we've talked about today that you're really just about to hit that jumping off point with getting ready to do some more stuff at the events and more marketing and just getting the message out there more. It seems like 2020 has the potential to be the biggest and best year for you guys, and I'm excited to see what happens. So, man, I appreciate you coming on the show with us today. Before I forget, where can we follow you guys on social media? Where can we get the product? Do you have any behind the scenes content of the development of everything? Where would you guys post that stuff on your social channels?
Well, you can always go to our website to get that information. You can give us a call anytime if you need to. Our number is 951-628-790. We have asterisk.com as far as the website goes. Asterisk_USA is our Instagram account. We post on there quite a bit, and we're really excited about not only the motocross market, and of course we're all fans of motocross here, and I'm an old racer, so it's kind of fun to kind of continue with where my roots are of racing, and everybody in the industry here is like family, and so it's fun to have a product that I can go out and work with the guys, but also the ski market. And now bleeding into the football there's been some new doors that are opening. So anyway, but I really appreciate having us on the show here. It's really nice that you did that. So thank you very much.
Yeah, absolutely. And I tell you what, so I think we'll make the announcement on here. The show's getting ready to go in the coming weeks to a video and audio show. So what we'll start to have is obviously the podcast on iTunes, but then we'll have a video version of it. We just revamped our studio. So if you're ever in or around the Racer X offices, we're in the same town. If you come to High Point or ever near Pittsburgh, would love to get you in the studio and bring some of the product down, and we could take a look at it and get some video footage of you walking us through it. So keep that in mind. If you ever come to High Point, man, we'd love to have you in studio. We'll take good care of you and get you on for maybe a follow-up episode.
No, that's great. I'd love to come on. Like I said, maybe around the High Point time would be fun. But thank you very much for all of it. And,
yeah, man. Well, thanks for joining us today. We appreciate it. We'll make sure for those listening, we got the links to all of Asterisk's social and website will be in the description of the podcast, so be sure to check that out. And we appreciate you joining us, Mike.
Thank you for listening to the Moto Marketing Podcast. If your goal is to get real, measurable results from your marketing that will grow your company revenue, then check out how Impakt Media can get the same results that they have for Moto's most iconic brands by visiting thinkimpact.com. That's THINKIMPAKT.com. Have a marketing question that you want answered on the show? Send your questions to questions@motomarketingpodcast.com. Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast. And we'll catch you on the next episode of the Moto Marketing Podcast.